change. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to, again, thank everybody that gave to the challenge, Portfolio Plus Challenge. We did meet our goal of $1,500. We actually got 1,530, which
Lucky 13. Yeah.
right, which if you're matched by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, turns into $3,026 is what it actually turns into, which will be donated to the Foundation for Portfolio Plus. So I appreciate everybody giving that gave and everything else. If you didn't give, trust me, I'm gonna send out another email.
We'll have more opportunities.
I'm still gonna hit up for the annual fund and everything else, so we've got a $40,000 goal on that, so, you will be here if I meet again, just a fair warning. Appreciate it.
Other announcements for the club?
Can I plug for Georgia College this Saturday?
No, we don't have anything to do with that.
Okay, I think I'm doing it. This Saturday is their like super huge day of service for all the freshmen, which how many? 15, 12? Freshmen. They're gonna go out and work for 42 different nonprofits in our county, or very close to it, this Saturday. So just be aware, be careful out. KBB is gonna be one of those streets too, cleaning up. But it's really an amazing feat and day of service. So.
And for these are all students who come, this is their first experience with Milledgeville and Baldwin County. And, you know, to the extent that you have the opportunity, if you see them working on a road or something like that, just say, hey, thanks. Welcome to Milledgeville. These kids are great kids. Our incoming class every year is just some of the best of the best. And as you may know, it's predominantly Georgia. It's not folks from New York. It's predominantly Georgia, and they're just great students. So yeah, any support like that would be terrific. Other announcements? Yes, sir, Jeff.
Jimmy Eubanks is out at fellowship on Meriwether in room 251. He's not doing very well. He's having trouble feeding himself, so but he sure appreciates people stopping in to see.
Okay.
Fellowship 251.
All right. I'm gonna send out an email on that. Say it again. Fellowship
Room 251. Ainsley's having to be there. Bringing breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, she can use a break.
She can use a break too.
Okay. All right. Any other announcements? We're good?
Awesome. So today we get a treat. We have Milledgeville's own Jessica Whitehead here with us today. As many of you already probably read a lot about her. She is also Georgia College alumni. So we welcome her. Look forward to see a lot of her work. I think it began as a hobby and has really turned into something. She's got a book. Just told me she might be working on another one, but she is the curator and director also of the Central State Hospital Museum. So give a warm welcome to Jessica.
Okay, so I need some phone books to stand on. Yes. No, you're good. Yep, I'm good. Yep. All right, so I'm Jessica Whitehead. I am so grateful to be here today. I'm the author of Seeking Asylum, a photography book about Central State Hospital that includes my personal journey as a trauma survivor living with severe and persistent mental illness. I have worked within the mental health, criminal justice, and education systems for the past 25 years, which is hard because I'm only 30. I am currently the judicial assistant to Superior Court Judge for the Okmulgee Judicial Circuit, Terry Massey. I'm the curator and director of the Central State Hospital Museum, located in the old train depot on the grounds of the hospital. I'm also the president of the board of Georgia's Old Capitol Heritage Center at the depot, and we have kids come in and they're going to be moving boxes for me, Seth. I would like to begin this discussion with how I came to be involved with all things Central State Hospital. And in order to do that, I need to share some of my personal history. As a child, I grew up in extreme poverty and dysfunction. I have what anyone would describe as a disturbing and lengthy trauma history. In my youth, I did what many in my situation do. I coped in unhealthy ways, attaching to negative peers and using drugs and alcohol in excess. Eventually, I dropped out of high school and got my GED. When I was given an opportunity to go to college, I took it. 3 college degrees later, I would say between my education and work experience, I've made a reasonably positive impact on the world, and most would describe me as being successful. Getting to this point, while wrestling daily with symptoms related to my mental illness, which is oftentimes debilitating and unbearable, makes for a complicated journey. While I may appear to be the picture of calm professionalism, I'm constantly battling to keep depression at bay, anxiety to manageable levels, and hold tight to a feeling of being connected to the world. My results from psychological testing in 2003 include a diagnosis of ADHD and a dissociative disorder. One of the tests used to diagnose me was the Dissociative Experiences Scale. A score of 30 or above out of 100 indicates a high likelihood of a person having a dissociative disorder. My score was 71. While I do not have, in older terms, multiple personalities, I absolutely gained an ability to dissociate, to withdraw into myself, to protect myself from the many terrible experiences I have endured in my life. Later, a PTSD diagnosis would be added to the list by a psychiatrist I saw at the beginning of my journey in therapy. Let me be clear. The symptoms associated with these diagnoses are devastating. I've experienced depression so severe that I've daydreamed about death and the sweet relief it would bring more times than I care to admit. Anxiety and panic attacks so extreme, I hyperventilate and cry for what feels like hours while desperately drawing from my bag of coping skills so I can pull myself back to sanity and calm. After a severe attack, it can often take me days to feel like myself again. Certain smells, sounds, and memories pull me from reality, and I watch myself and the world carry on in this dreamlike state until I'm able to reattach to it and feel like myself again. Although sometimes I question what feeling like myself actually is. Even though the dreamlike state mostly causes me distress, there have been times when the pain of living has been so great, I prefer the disconnect, the dissociation, the numbness. Those who have never experienced the debilitating symptoms of mental illness have a hard time understanding that even my most practiced coping skills are unsuccessful sometimes. While panic attacks and severe bouts of depression are less common due to my successful medication regimen, these symptoms are never far from the surface. Anxiety in particular plagues me daily. Due to my dissociative disorder, I have long blank spaces in my memory that medication cannot resolve. And despite my best efforts, my forgetting continues. This causes me great distress to not remember beautiful moments from my children's lives and to depend on others' memories in order for me to have part of their lives embedded in mine. This is but one example of how my mental health impacts my daily life. I consider myself lucky, though. I do not have any type of hallucinations or delusions, and I do not have to cope with my mental health symptoms with illegal drugs or by using alcohol in excess, because I have access to proper mental health treatment. Many do not. Copays are expensive and add up quickly when you need intensive services, and that's just for those who have insurance. For those without insurance, even a sliding scale payment system can feel impossible to meet. This often leads to crisis services being used instead of someone accessing comprehensive, consistent, and competent care that would improve their quality of life. Sometimes people just learn to survive in anguish. That brings us to 3 years ago, when I decided to buy a camera and start taking pictures for a book about the hospital. Central State Hospital became my muse. The history of the largest mental asylum in the world and its decaying buildings became a bit of an obsession, and some now affectionately, I hope, call me the asylum lady. As I began working on the Seeking Asylum photography book, I became more and more engrossed in the history of the people who lived and worked within the asylum, as well as how the hospital grew over the years. This led to my curating a museum dedicated to telling the story of Central State Hospital, its people, its tragedies, and its triumphs. You see, the history of mental health treatment and the history of the hospital run parallel to the histories of institutions around the world. The symptoms and suffering of those with the most severe and persistent mental diagnosis has not been alleviated by the closing of mental health institutions. What has happened is that our jails and prisons have become the largest providers of mental health care in our country. In the early 1800s, most suffering from severe mental illness, developmental and intellectual disabilities, autism, epilepsy, and other misunderstood mental and physical ailments could be found in the attics and cellars of their family homes, or in almshouses and jails if there was no one to care for them. Manacles and shackles were common because restraints were the only way to manage harmful behaviors. Treatment, if you could call it that, for mental illness was based on superstition and normally caused more harm than good. Dorothea Dix, teacher and nurse to those living on the margins of society, wanted to change the way this population was treated. She described them this way: in cages, closets, cellars, stalls, pens, chained, naked, beaten with rods, and lashed into obedience. Because of her experiences encountering and working with the marginalized, she became their fiercest advocate. Traveling across the states, Dorothea gathered statistics and evidence she would then deliver to the legislatures, making them aware of the crises she saw regarding the treatment of the mentally ill and challenging the prevailing notions regarding mental illness, which led to reforms in treatment and improvements in the conditions in hospitals and prisons. She played a significant role in bringing the mentally ill out of incarceration and into settings where there was some hope of relief from their symptoms. Central State Hospital opened on November the 1st, 1842, and the first patient arrived just before Christmas. I would like to take a few minutes to tell you all about some of the people and places at the hospital that I find most thought-provoking. I include square footage for the buildings so you can have an idea of exactly how massive they are and can imagine what it would look like for them to be overcrowded. Unfortunately, for most of its history, the hospital was overcrowded and understaffed. I would like for you to keep in mind that the average American home is 2,400 square feet. At its peak, the hospital encompassed thousands of acres and had over 200 buildings, including its own post office, police force, fire department, and school for children living at the hospital. The hospital was also often self-sustaining, including farmland, chicken houses producing over 10,000 eggs a day, and having its own cattle, hogs, and abattoir. We will begin with the most well-known building on campus, the Powell Building. Built in 3 sections as the hospital grew, the first building constructed in 1842, the second in 1847, and the third, the long part in the front, I don't know if you all have been to campus, but the long part in the front in 1858. Upon Superintendent Theophilus Powell's death in 1907, what was known as the Center Building became the Powell Building. This building measures 180,000 square feet. The outside walkway at Powell, where many patients arrived for admission to the hospital, spirals so you feel like you're walking in an endless loop. I can only imagine what patients might have felt being dropped off to an unknown place, surrounded by unknown people, and not knowing what awaited them behind those doorways. After all, most Georgians in years past knew the threat: we're going to send you to Milledgeville. and that did not mean you were coming for a nice vacation. There are 5 cemeteries on the grounds of Central State Hospital. The largest, Cedar Lane, has a beautiful angel amongst the dead. It's that angel right there behind Seth. Joe Ingram, longtime Central State Hospital employee, known as the African American superintendent, is quoted as saying, "Rows upon rows of numbered small rusted markers as far as you can see, no names, just numbers. It must be the most gruesome sight in Georgia. Unknown humans, shunned when living, deprived of their very names in death, and literally known only to God." There are upwards of 35,000 graves, both marked and unmarked, on the grounds of the hospital. The first 2,000 patients to die at the hospital are buried in unmarked graves at Memory Hill Cemetery. The Ingram Building was constructed in 1921 and once housed African American patients. The building was named for Mr. Joe Ingram, who I just quoted, a Central State Hospital employee for 55 years. Mr. Ingram was present at the dedication ceremony in September of 1953 when the building took his name. Once Ingram became too infirm to care for himself, he came back to the hospital to be cared for as a patient. He died in 1956 in the building bearing his name and is buried in Memory Hill Cemetery. The Ingram Building became part of Frank Scott Prison in 1975, along with the Holly and Kemper buildings. Frank Scott Prison closed in 2009. The Ingram Building measures 96,000 square feet. The Rivers Hospital Complex, which was once the most advanced tuberculosis hospital in the country, consists of 4 buildings, 3 for patient housing and a large kitchen. The double crosses located on the outside of the Rivers Building is a symbol for the American Lung Association. These buildings have tunnels that run underneath. The annual reports indicate the purpose of the tunnels, besides allowing doctors and other staff to travel between buildings, was to allow kitchen staff to easily deliver hot meals to all patients quickly and effortlessly, which they believe to have a restorative effect on patients' health. The Rivers Complex measures 650,000 square feet. The Rivers buildings became Rivers Prison in 1981. The prison closed in 2008, and the buildings have been vacant since that time. The mortuary was constructed in 1895 and measures 3,800 square feet. This building was originally constructed as a pathologist laboratory. Eventually, it became a mortuary for the ever-growing hospital. Due to the surplus of unclaimed bodies, those in the state of Georgia wishing to acquire their certification in embalming would take their test in the mortuary. There is a hole in the roof of this building, and buzzards have made their home there. Imagine over 200 buildings serving the developmentally and intellectually disabled, those with severe psychotic disorders, schizophrenia, mood disorders, women with postpartum depression, alcoholics, drug addicts, abandoned children, children with severe behavioral disorders, those with dementia and Alzheimer's. Imagine thousands of patients housed on a campus that was many times overcrowded and understaffed. Imagine their suffering before medication became available to treat their symptoms. Imagine those who had no visitors, those who lived out their lives there. Imagine in death, no one claimed their bodies. Imagine. This is not to say that there were not people who cared. There were those who cared deeply for their patients. There were many people who worked and volunteered at the hospital, who attempted to alleviate the suffering. They provided activities to engage patients, attempted to provide settings that mirrored a home-like atmosphere. Occupational therapy, art therapy, garden therapy, sporting events, patient choirs, and other amusements, as well as holiday festivities, contributed to the overall well-being of patients. Remember earlier when I mentioned the buildings that once housed patients becoming prisons? Does anyone else find it interesting that as treatment and psychiatric beds diminished, prison beds grew? I will say it again. Our jails and prisons are the largest provider of mental health treatment in our country. I would like to remind everyone that Central State Hospital is not closed. The Allen Building holds the administrative offices. The Tharp Dental Center still provides dental services to patients of the hospital and those with developmental disabilities living in group homes in the community. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't go over the Cook Building, just kidding. The Peyton Cook Building is a 182-bed maximum secure forensic hospital serving those referred by the criminal justice system. Again, psychiatric beds, but only those referred from the criminal justice system. Anyone who has worked within the mental health care system, been a caregiver for someone who suffers from mental illness, especially those illnesses considered chronic and severe, or anyone living with mental illness, including myself, can tell you how difficult it is to manage their illness within our current mental health system. For those without health insurance, family support, those in rural communities where there is no public transportation, knowledge of service providers, for those needing long-term inpatient psychiatric care, etc., it can feel impossible to receive the help needed to lead a productive and healthy life. Having worked within the walls of facilities that provide mental health treatment, I can say the same issues persist in today's institutions as they have since Central State Hospital opened its doors: understaffing, overcrowding or long wait lists, and not enough resources, both monetary and other. I said this in the beginning of this talk, and I will say it again and again and again. Our jails and prisons are now the largest provider of mental health care in our country. The increasing rates of the incarcerated mentally ill can be explained by the steady elimination of psychiatric hospital beds since 1955. The resources intended to replace inpatient care are not funded at a rate that meets the needs of the population, and federally funded mental health initiatives have decreased dramatically. Throughout history, there have been many institutions that have attempted to alleviate the suffering of the mentally ill. These institutions can be described as a saving grace or a hellish prison. My experience and research lead me to believe they can be both, often simultaneously. Central State Hospital in Milledgeville, Georgia is no exception, and its history is the inspiring as well as the grotesque stretches over 183 years. My photography tells the story of Central State Hospital, once the largest mental asylum in the world. It tells the story of the mentally ill. It tells my story. It may well tell your story, and we are all seeking asylum.
Questions?
Oh, what is that photo right there?
Which one?
The one on the beach.
The beach. This is the Crittenton building. It was a child and adolescent unit. And the day I photographed it, so this is just the way the walls are painted. But the day I photographed it, this is how it was left. Yeah, I don't add or take anything away. I just use filters to adjust the
Sure.
colors.
What are some of the other ones?
Okay, so these beautiful buzzards here, well, it's really one buzzard. The day I photographed the mortuary, this buzzard was in the window and he did all the poses for me, or she, I don't know. And so that was super exciting for me. This is the Arnold building, is basically rubble now. This is the angel's hand and my little freckly hand. This is the angel at Cedar Lane. This is the Jones Hospital. This is a picture of a bed in what would have been the Washington building, which became men's prison. So it was just a leftover bed. Crittenton building. This is, of course, Powell. This is a sign that leads up to Powell. Then we have over here, this is the mortuary here. And you see the big hole in the roof. This is from the Binion building, which was for the forensic patients before Cook opened. And the forensic patients would have been known as the criminally insane way back in the day. That's not politically correct these days. This is the Binion building. This is the admissions. It's on the back side of the Powell building. So this is where people would have gone to admissions, and it's where it spirals up. This also the Arnold building, which is gone now. This is a real life ballerina on the steps of the mortuary. A friend of mine, their daughter is ballerina, and they were like, "Oh, it'd be really cool." And I was like, "Let's do it." So we traipsed all over campus and got some really neat photos. And this is the Rivers building where I talked about the tunnels that were underneath. I'm sure it didn't look like that when the hospital was open. Yeah, it's what it looks like now.
Wow.
I know that President Trump has talked about the idea of maybe starting institutions like Central State. Do you think that there's any of the properties that could easily be reintroduced out there? I mean, you know, if there was some kind of movement towards that nationally to remove some of the homeless population or in mentally ill in prisons and jails?
Well, I definitely think, do I think that we need like a 9,000 acre, 200 building campus? I think that, because a lot of people are just left there, you know, just because of whatever. Yeah. I absolutely believe that we need, that people with severe and persistent mental illness who a lot of times will end up in jail or homeless we need long-term psychiatric care. So not just like 72-hour or a week stabilization and then insurance is like, they gotta go. We need it's gotta be consistent. It can't be, because a lot of people, you know, they'll stop taking their medication. And that happened all the time whenever I worked in mental health. People would be like, yeah, I was feeling so much better, so I stopped taking it. And I'm like, and look at us now, you know, I mean, so we have got to do something, you know, all of, you know, the mass shootings and the, you know, people stabbing somebody in the subway. I mean, most of the time those people have some type of untreated mental health issue, and had the right things been put in place, had the right, you know, whatever it looks like for that individual, then maybe some of those things could be prevented. And I definitely think that people having access to the long-term care, and it doesn't have to all be inpatient. It can be inpatient, and then you have intensive services afterwards outside of the community. We've got to have those programs. It's a must. I mean, because otherwise it's just jail or prison or homelessness. So
I can't thank you enough. And Stephanie, thank you for bringing thought-provoking moments. Will you stay around for some questions?
yeah.
That'd be great.
Oh, and hey, come to the museum. Oh, we're gonna try to do a little field trip.
We're gonna try to do a field trip later in the
Okay.
fall.
But also, I'm a single mom. Buy my book. It's so good. It's so good. And I've got some prints over there. Okay. So while I do work for the judge, this is how I
Like you said,
look, I'll just stand up here and be sad until you feel bad. But yes, I would love for you to buy a book or buy a print, or just come talk to me if you have other questions, whatever. I'm very grateful to have been here today.
Well, thank you. And
We have your Virgil's book. It doesn't.
The Visitors Bureau, almost every Saturday, does a 2-hour tour at Central State with Walter Reynolds, and he's a wonderful narrator. Like 4 generations of his family worked out there. So
Walter is one of the reasons why this book was able to come to fruition, because he allowed me permits and waivers to be able to go into the buildings owned by the Redevelopment Authority. And he is an incredible wealth of knowledge. Sorry. Did you see it just now? She said it and then I went to buy it. I was like,
And that's yours. Thank you.
And I do try to end on a lighter note. A couple of weeks ago, I honestly couldn't come up with something for a lighter note. But today's lighter note actually may kind of go along and explain some things. My teachers told me I'd never amount to much because I procrastinate. I told them, just wait. And you know what they say about a clean desk, right? It's a very positive indication of a sick mind or very cluttered drawers. So y'all, see you next week. I'm sorry, what we got? Yes.
Next week, our program is the RILA students. We have
Yes.
They are so excited. They've been emailing me and we're so excited to be coming and can we do this? Can we do that? We've got this available. What time do we need to be there and everything? So I know we're a little short today due to,
Half the city not having water.
but, tell some other people it would be really, really great if we could have a really full room next week.
And the last year's RILA students who came and spoke were just knocked it out of the park. I mean, they were a lot of fun. It was interesting to hear what they do down there on the coast. And
These two should be just as good.
that's great. That's great. Thank you, Jan. Anybody else before I flip the
Best I can.
well, and it's a really.
What's that? It's an interesting place.
absolutely.
I see, actually, what
That's just true.
in that area.
We hear all this about homeless. Well, there's what happens when you don't do something. It's just false.
What's that?
They tried to convince me that she could use some of those buildings. She just kind of like, this is not my first rodeo. Yeah, I'll keep it. I'll keep it. We went in one time.
Yeah, can you clip that or put it in the bottom or something? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We went to a Brown building out there one time, former nursing thing, and two girls. We walked in, dust in the air, everywhere. Well, it was immediately turned around and walked out. We knew what it was. Rest of the crowd wandered on in. That place was full of it. No, I don't believe we want that one.
All right. I gotta figure out how to turn it.
This is it, that one.
Just turn the whole damn thing.
I do it.